Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Double Stuff Podcast, where we're double the hosts, double the topics, and double the fun. And I'm Charity.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Dan.
I'm Alan.
I liked your superhero stance.
I know. It worked really well for an audio version.
We appreciate it.
I thought if I acted it out, it would come through in my voice.
It
the
did.
confidence of the Clark
sure
Kent.
It did. They
I mean, the
saw you
Superman.
I flinched.
flying in the air. All right, we are back to our double the topics, drawing topics out of our hat here. And so Alan is going to let us know what we're talking about today.
Okay, here's the number one topic. What is your favorite cartoon character? That's fun.
That is fun. I like that.
Yes.
Number two. Oh, here we are in Kansas. Let's talk about the weather.
Something that we're good at here.
Something that always changes.
Okay,
Keeps you on your toes.
What do we want to discuss first?
Well,
First of all, thoughts and prayers to Andover.
oh
Yeah.
So I guess
Good
we're going to
grief.
talk about the weather
Jeez.
first then.
Yeah, so tornadoes. We live in Kansas. For those listening outside of Kansas,
Tornado
was
Alley.
that 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
It was last.
No, 3.
Yeah, it was back in May,
3
so
weeks
very
ago?
recently.
Yeah, tornado, or was it a couple tornadoes?
It was one.
It was just one massive tornado swept through Andover and destroyed
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On almost its 30-year anniversary of the exact same path. Well, very closely the same path.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very,
geez.
very similar. Yeah.
That's scary. I think the scariest thing is that, I mean, I know like we live in Kansas and we kind of joke about, tornadoes, but like,
Yeah.
I think it was the fact that it seemed very close. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
a lot of, like tornadoes, you see pictures and it happens like over there.
Yeah.
But a lot of my friends were taking pictures from their backyards.
Yeah.
And be like, there's
for sure.
tornadoes coming. So like, that's a moment of panic when it's right in your backyard.
Well, and unfortunately, I hate to use this language, but I mean, it was beautifully photographed. I mean, there was no rain wrap.
Yeah.
There was no rain around it at all. So, I mean, you could see it. It did seem like everybody took a video or a picture of it.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre day
yeah.
that day.
That's part of the reason why I'm still not fully Kansan, because I don't understand
Going outside and take a selfie with the tornado.
Well, something like that. I mean, it is kind of weird because I do see people, not the one that just happened recently, but just in the past, like they sit there with their lawn chairs and be like, "Oh, there seems to be a tornado tonight.
Yeah.
Let's all gather around and watch it being born," kind of thing. And I guess, like I said,
I don't think that's how I experienced it, because like in all
I
the
always try to take
videos
cover
that I was watching and that had gotten sent to me, I mean, it was always panic. I mean it's one of those things where it's completely out of your control, and everybody that was filming, I mean, it's their breathing is heavy, and there's panic in the background of everybody get to the basement and stuff. So I don't think it's so much that Kansans are, well, that's just what happens, and things like that. But I get what you're saying, because storms is something different. Now, a thunderstorm in
we do
Kansas
have some big storms
is kind
here,
of let's get the cooler and the lawn chairs and watch the light show.
Okay, what's funny about that though is like we heard the sirens go off on the west side.
Yeah.
When I don't know. I don't think they were going off. I don't think they were supposed to. Is what it was.
In Bel Air, the sirens went off after it had already touched down.
Okay. And see, I looked outside because I didn't know there was any weather event going on really at all. I was kind of clueless, and I looked outside and I was like, why are the sirens going off? So I went outside. I went outside to look. It wasn't like to take a picture or anything, but like all of my neighbors were outside and we're all walking around like, I mean, see some stuff over there, but like, why are the sirens going off here? But that's sort of my initial reaction was just like, well, let's go outside and look what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't have a basement anyway, so I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I think because every storm you'll see, potential for a tornado warning or whatever. And so that's why we've become callous to it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they always say it's a tornado, like, but when you see a tornado from your back porch and it's like, oh crap, it's coming, that's a whole other issue.
Yeah. Well, and this one was or at least to me, it seemed a little bit weird, because I was watching the radar, and the chain of the thunderstorms or whatever that was going was pretty much already passing, and it was just this last little red dot that was behind all the bigger red dot that was heading to El Dorado, and then that's the one that generated. It's wild.
It is wild.
And it's crazy because that earlier that day, perfect blue sky,
exactly.
Nice white fluffy clouds. Me and Sherry did that stupid Arbor Day video that posted, and so it was just beautiful outside. And then a few hours later, it's just the sky was black, you know. And that's the thing about. I mean, it seems like the thing about Kansas weather is that it might be beautiful the first 2 or 3 hours, and then there's snow on the ground, then it's sunny again.
That's the old Kansas adage, which is like, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, you know?
Well, we're talking about like all these storms that happen here, but the same day, my parents got stuck in another town because of dust. They had like a dust storm earlier that day, like right around the same time, and they just couldn't drive because they couldn't see anything.
Like a blackout.
It was like the 30s.
I was gonna say that's like 30s dust storm.
It seems sort of historic. Like, you know, oh, this is happening in 2022. It seems weird.
Yeah, it does sound like that happened long time
Haven't we
ago.
invented the thingy to fix the thingy?
Yeah, the thingy. Yeah, of course. Who's got control of the thingy?
Yeah, push the button on the thingy
Giant
to fix
vacuum.
I think it's weird too because you call it Tornado Alley, which is what Kansas and Oklahoma has always kind of been known as, but it seems like that's shifting too. To the southeast.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Before we had ever even had a tornado in Kansas, Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi had already had hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, and when I was in Florida, we had a tornado warning at one point with a touchdown tornado.
Yeah.
So weird.
It is wild.
Oh, going back to the Andover tornado, if you saw the pictures the next day, everyone was posting pictures of rainbows.
Yeah, there was a rainbow right after
and
that.
It was almost like, tornado? What tornado? I'm like, okay. There is, and I don't know if it was like double, like if people saw them, and I don't know. It was just tornado one day and then rainbow fest the next day.
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, and then of course this year is in 2022. On top of, you know, Mr. Groundhog giving us the extra 6 weeks of winter, it snowed like even after that, and it always happened on a Thursday. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I enjoyed my Thursdays off. That was a good day.
We actually had snow days at school. Like, it was like, well, we don't have school. It must be Thursday.
There was even a day where it had snowed during the night. It was like raining during the day, and then it started hailing in the afternoon. I mean, it was pretty bananas.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. Bananas.
BANA.
There you go. Banana.
But yeah, it's just weird because I don't, you know, like I said, me and Charlie are from Indiana, and I don't remember, who knows, it might be like that now, but I don't remember Indiana having such a hard time realizing what time of the year it was. I think we always had 4 seasons at the time that it was supposed to.
And I've heard that a lot from other people just growing up. It's like, oh, it wasn't like this when I was younger. So I think it's just the world's changing, the seasons are changing, you know.
Maybe so. It was just weird. I mean, it's true because you can go through like all 4 seasons in a 24-hour period. So it's like you wear a parka, then you can wear a sleeveless shirt, then you wear a jacket.
Flip-flops and tank tops all the time for me.
And we also used to get more significant snows in Kansas too, like in winters. I mean,
in January, there's very rarely Christmas snow, but January comes in with a
dumped on
growing
this
up,
year,
we
though.
got Christmas snow.
Yeah.
Growing up, it wasn't uncommon to have, you know, I mean, not like an excessive
But you
amount,
were further out west, though.
Yeah, it was further out west. Yeah, but that doesn't happen anymore either.
Oh, okay.
I mean, even now, it doesn't, you know, we're waiting January, February before we even get any snow.
I think I can count maybe once or twice in my life where we actually did have a white Christmas. Like, it actually started snowing on Christmas Eve. And it was full of snow on Christmas Day, just like in the movies. But
it's supposed to be.
The way it's supposed to be. And then it melts on the 26th, and then we have our New Year's snow, and then we don't have any other for the rest of the year because it's not beautiful anymore. Yeah. It's just all nasty and slushy.
Snow Lump McGee. I remember that video we made.
Yeah. Snow Lump McGee should have been around, you know, much longer than what it was. But yeah, it's just that weird weather,
So since we were talking about weather, and our second character is, what's your favorite cartoon character? I mean, he's not my favorite, but it made me think of the Tasmanian Devil because whenever he comes in,
nice segue.
Comes in as a tornado.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the first thing I thought of. But do you guys have a favorite character?
I had a bunch. I mean, I grew up with Looney Tunes, and then USA had the Cartoon Express. Do you guys remember the Cartoon Express?
I don't think I do.
And then the afternoons, Filmation had an hour of like He-Man and She-Ra.
I watched those.
And then the Ninja Turtles.
I definitely watched those.
Definitely watched all the Ninja Turtles. which are so goofy.
They're so
But
weird,
they were fantastic. I mean, and the plots as the seasons went on, they were like, we have nowhere else to take this. I mean, we have this giant technodrome tunneling around in the depths of New York, and no one knows that it's there at all except for the Ninja Turtles.
Well, and the problem with those old cartoons too is that the bad guys always had to lose at the end of every episode, and
they gotta get their just desserts.
But I mean, but it becomes like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. I mean, of course, like the turtles are going to beat Shredder. That's not even hard to imagine.
But then it was like, okay, we've played that out, so let's invent a new villain. We'll invent the Krang.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, Krang.
And then the neutrinos, they had a little bit of merging, kind of like the
like
the
Irish,
Jetsons and the Flintstones kind of merge. Yeah.
But see, I currently
Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Yeah. See, I currently have a favorite cartoon character because I still watch like a lot of animated stuff. I think it's a lot of times it gets like a bad rap, but I think animated content can still be really good.
Oh yeah.
So who's your favorite current one?
Aang from Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's why I feel like that's one of the best shows that's still out there.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I tried. I remember as soon as I finished that, I was going to get into Korra.
Yeah.
And I started it, and everybody was like, "No, it'll ruin everything for you."
Doesn't.
No, it didn't. I thought it was good. It wasn't as good, but
not as good. It's got some flaws and stuff that the original one didn't, but it is just as good. And I am like all in on it. It's like one of my favorite properties.
Yeah. And they've just come out with, or Netflix has 2 reboots of He-Man.
Yes,
that's coming out.
The one that they made with Kevin Smith was awesome.
Yeah,
it was just called Masters of the Universe.
Yeah,
yes,
really good.
The Masters of the Universe Revelation, I think is what it was called.
Revelation. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it had a great voice cast, and it wasn't just about like He-Man. It was a continuation of the original series. It was fantastic.
Yes.
And then they're doing some weird 3D one that I'm not as interested in.
Well, but for some reason, because I try to get my daughters to like all the cartoons that I grew up on, and they had zero interest. Like even when they rebooted She-Ra.
Oh, so She-Ra and Princess of Power.
They did not like.
They didn't like
all.
that. Oh, it's a great show.
So what do they like now? Do they have?
Oh well, they grew up on, and these shows are fantastic. They grew up on Gumball. Gumball's hilarious, and then what's the one with like Uncle
Grandpa?
Uncle Grandpa. They loved Uncle Grandpa, and then We Bear Bears.
Yeah,
they like that.
Probably because Grizz. I always thought Grizz reminded me of you. Like anytime I watch We Bear Bears, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Alan. Like that's probably why he sort of endeared himself to me.
This is totally
I was like,
okay.
Alan.
In that case, what would Ice Bear be? Would that be Dan?
Dan's too low key to be Ice Bear though, because Ice Bear has like a whole secret life of like.
So all of these shows
that would be interesting.
came about 10 years ago on the Cartoon Network.
That was definitely outside of the time I was watching it, because I watched a lot of Cartoon Network, but like in high school it was a lot of Adult Swim.
Oh, and then of course Teen Titans Go.
Teen Titans Go was really good.
Was hilarious.
True. But I watched a lot like C-Lab 2021 and Metalocalypse and The Brack Show. I love the old ones that they did on Cartoon Network on Adult Swim specifically, where they would take old cartoons and then they would like repurpose them with like new dialogue and stuff, like C-Lab.
Yeah, C-Lab was great.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay, I know Sarah's waiting to talk about Charlie Brown,
please.
so let's let Sarah have her.
I can talk about
Brown
cartoons
moment.
for a long time, so you better take over.
I was gonna be like, mine's gonna sound so disappointed.
But I was right though, wasn't I?
I like Doug and Rugrats. I do too.
I do too.
Mine is totally Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
I like I said, mine.
Oh, that's got a special place in my heart too. Oh, yeah. Every holiday.
Okay, is it too sad now?
It's not just holidays. They did just regular shows,
right?
You know.
Yeah, the Charlie Brown.
Yeah, the Charlie Brown Snoopy show. But I grew up also. I mean, I've been watching these since I was like 2 and 3 years old. So, but like my favorite of the series they did was called "This Is America," Charlie Brown, and it's all the historical ones.
Those are
so they talk about the Wright brothers, and they meet Abraham Lincoln, and they go to NASA.
That sounds like the premise for a show that we air on PBS, the Xavier Riddle.
Oh yeah,
the Secret Museum.
The way they draw those characters do look very
the artwork
Charlie
is
Brown.
similar to the Peanuts drawings and Calvin and Hobbes. If you look at the artwork, and I don't know if that's their basis of drawing, but
with
it's
the
very
with the
similar.
giant heads and the little bodies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just also the Pink Panther. I don't know if you guys you've probably heard the movie, but they made a cartoon series out of the character.
Oh yeah, and then use the character in the cartoon series to sell insulation.
Oh, yes. So,
which is fantastic insulation, by the way.
The Inspector is a cartoon too.
The Inspector, the Ant and Aardvark. So my cartoon preferences. So you guys
all from the 60s.
They're all from the 60s.
Well,
70s.
I take on those too. I more in the 80s is what I grew up on.
Oh, I was a child of that era, but the cartoons were everything I've liked have been before my birth of some capacity, So it's kind of fun, and then just because I like the slapstick stuff, so me and Charity and Chrissy, we all like a lot of the MGM cartoons, so like Tom and Jerry.
You never felt like pointing a gun at your sister's face and just blasting it off?
No.
I was wondering where you were going with this.
I just remember the arguments were like, these shows are so violent. I'm like, who would ever do this?
Well,
Put your head in a cannon and then pull the rope and then blast
it was true that there was an issue that people thought that the Coyote and the Roadrunner cartoons were just too violent for children.
None of us have access to the Acme explosion company where they find all this dynamite in the cave.
I wouldn't even know where to find a cannon.
That's true. I've always, part of me is like, it's funny that there's actual real companies that are called Acme. That cracks me up.
Yeah.
Because I can't take them seriously.
Well, what's it? They tried to reboot Elmer Fudd a few years ago, but he doesn't have a rifle anymore.
What does he have?
I don't know, like a net or something like that.
I mean, he did have a net back in like the 30s, but he still definitely had firearms.
Yeah.
Oh, he did have a net. He had like a cage.
Yeah, that's when he had like a red colored nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, historically, I enjoy watching those kind of cartoons, and since I do like watching silent films, sometimes I look at old Felix the Cat because he was a silent movie cartoon before.
Don't mention Gertie the dinosaur again. Is that where this is going?
I mean,
go on YouTube and look up Gertie the dinosaur.
Look up Gertie the dinosaur. It was an animator named Winsor McKay. And the story with that, which I might have mentioned either another episode or maybe After Hours. It was a cool cartoon. Of course, back then, everything was done by hand. So Winsor McKay animated this whole entire series. And so he had this dinosaur named Gertie. And so the person, would kind of, almost like when you're teaching a pet how to do tricks, he'd be like, all right, Gertie, bow down to the audience. And so Gertie the dinosaur would bow to the audience and have her do tricks and stuff. But the story about that, the reason why I really got into it was because I was in high school, or 8th grade, so junior high. We were still living in Indiana at the time. We went to a museum in Chicago. That was our field trip, and at the bottom floor of the museum, they had recreated like turn of the century Chicago, I guess. So like, 1900s, and they had like brick streets and stuff, and it had an area where you could watch silent films. And that was my first time watching something that didn't have sound before. And that was one of the cartoons they played along with the Great Train Robbery and stuff. And I was so enthralled, but I didn't realize that my class had left and they were on their way to leave.
The class didn't realize she was gone, so that says a lot for the teacher.
The class didn't realize me, the only black person in the classroom, that was gone. And thankfully my mom was one of the chaperones, because if she wasn't there, I would have totally...
She would still be in Chicago today.
I would still be in Chicago today.
Where's Sarah? She's exploring that jazz.
So anyway, in terms of animation, from a historical standpoint, that stuff intrigues me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, not as high octane as like maybe some of the stuff that you did, but we didn't even talk to Charity about her favorite.
Well, I have different cartoon characters from different ages. So before we end, I know we talked about We Bare Bears, so I love that whole cartoon. So that's probably my current, since we were talking about current ones. High school, I would say Kim Possible.
Oh, that was a good one.
Disney, yeah. Because I just thought she was super cool, and red hair. I've always loved red hair. I've always thought it was beautiful.
That's why she can't look at Dan for too long, because
Dan's not red.
I'm not red anymore. I used to have red hair when I was younger.
Oh, it's going back to times lost.
So I guess in high school I probably would have had a crush on your hair.
Not on him. Not on him.
Just let me touch it. Why are you running away? Come back, Dan.
When I was younger, so sticking with Disney, we watched a lot of the animal movies growing up. So like Robin Hood, Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah.
Later we
classics.
watched Oliver and Company, which I mean I still watch Oliver and Company. We watched it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, and so funny, hilarious, very underrated movie. Nobody really talks about Oliver and Company, later 80s. But I guess when I was younger, my favorite would probably be Robin Hood.
Yeah. I used to use that as an example.
Of Robin Hood?
The animated version, because the continuity in that film is terrible. Sometimes Prince John has 3 fingers, sometimes he has 4, sometimes he has 5 rings, sometimes he only has 1. I mean, it is so lazy. So lazy.
Well, and they reused a lot of stuff from like the scenes, like some of them were from Jungle Book because Baloo and Little John were the same.
And then Snow White.
Snow White from Maid Marian, and they did the little dance with the, in the woods or whatever. So, but when you're a child, you don't care. And I was probably secretly in love with Robin Hood, if you can be in love with a cartoon fox.
Because he's like Errol Flynn. Who doesn't love Errol Flynn?
He's like adventurous. And
he's British.
A
British fox.
I've loved British men since I was a child. Maybe that's
it.
So have I. We both been bitten years ago.
So before we wrap up, I do want to give suggestions for anybody who's looking for current cartoons. So Gravity Falls, which is a few years old, is fantastic. And somebody who worked on Gravity Falls did a show that's on Disney Plus right now called The Owl House.
Oh, I haven't heard
of that. Which is really, really good. The Owl House. And then I never touched on it, but like I was and still am really a big fan of anime. So anime movies like Akira or Ghost in the Shell, those are more adult oriented. Don't watch those if you're not over 18.
Yeah.
And then Full Metal Alchemist, which is a show that's on Netflix that you can find, is really good at like world building.
You never got into the Cowboy Bebop?
I love Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
Dude, like I said, I could talk about this all day. It could be a whole episode that would just be me talking about, and what about this? Oh, I love that. So
okay.
Just wanted to give some definite like shout outs. And then Avatar. Always watch Avatar. All the time.
That's really good. Yeah.
That was a good list. I've only seen a few of those, so I was tracking you a little bit. But yeah, that was a good list at the end there. Sarah, do you want to end us out? Let everyone know where they can find us on social media and how they can listen to our episodes.
Yes, if you want to listen to a good animated band of characters, all 4 of us.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Just check us out on doublestuffpod.com. All the episodes are there. Of course, we're available on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at Double Stuff Podcast, and of course on Twitter at Double Stuff P, and that's the letter P.
I love it.